fixing the Ipod Nano. Now, this little guy can be a bit of a pain if you're not really sure what you're doing, and the tools that you might need might surprise you. So here I am actually just trying to fix it for the first time ever. I actually never knew what the heck I was doing, and I'm looking at it going, all right, how do we get inside here? So what I did was put it inside my pocket to warm it up some. Just walk around for half an hour or so. And this is what I did. Doesn't mean you have to. And this will help me get the screen apart. See, in this particular Nano iPod, the power button's not working. So after I pulled that out of my pocket, I just used my thumbnail to kind of gently pull around the screen. And you can see here there's a bit of a ribbon cable on the left-hand side that is going to be something you're going to take off a little bit later. But as of now, we just have to take off the shield. You're going to need a tiny screwdriver. And this screwdriver here is, I don't know if it's a 2N or a number 2 or something like that. You can get them in little screwdriver kits at the dollar store if you want. So there's a couple screws that you're going to need to take off. And take your time doing this. It's helpful if you have somewhere to put the screws. You can see how small they are. In this case, I had a big window bench area. I'm getting my light from a big window and just put it there. These particular screwdrivers are magnetized, and it worked to help put them back in later on. So go ahead and take them out, and you can probably hear some movie in the background. That's just, well, I don't know, something with the grays or something. I forget what that is. So this here, I didn't really care if it was going to be fixed or not. So it didn't mean I didn't take any extra carefulness with it, but I meant that it's like, hey, I have no guarantees. My buddy gave it to me. So try to fix it. If you can, you can. But what you want to do is inspect it and make sure you just take your time. You can see it's a nice cloudy day, and the reflection there, not too bad. Now this little piece of rubber, you're going to want to pull off and save if you can. I always try to just save everything, just set it aside, and that kind of helps. I didn't re-glue it. A lot of people ask, hey, did you re-glue it, or how'd you put the thing back on? I just clicked it back together, and that's it. You can get re-glue kits and sticky kits if you want. All right, so use your fingernails to help pull this plastic or a metal piece of plate off. Just take your time with it. It'll come out. There's some tape on the bottom here that kind of sticks around. You can see I'm just kind of giving a little tug. The bottom screw area will make sure it comes up underneath where the screw sits. And you just wiggle it around, wiggle it around. You want to be gentle, though. You don't want to force it. All right, so you can see there's some tape and stuff still stuck on there. Here you can see the battery and the plate and everything. The battery I'm not going to remove, but there is going to be some tape and stuff we'll take off here, and it can rip the ribbon that holds together the LCD screen. What I'm trying to get after is the power button up top, and that is buried underneath everything else, of course. So using my fingernails, I'm just gently pulling along here, just ever so gently. Come on, and take your time. Again, you can warm it up if you want somehow, you know, if you want to maybe just rub it back and forth a little bit with your fingers and stuff, but continue just working it off ever so gently. Try to save it if you can. Just again, put it out of the way and make sure nothing's going to fall on it. So that's what's going on there. So if you're still just looking at it, you're going, all right, what's next here? Got some cables, and those will pull off. There's actually little clips. They're like tiny little pressure clips that keep the ribbon cable on. So we can go ahead and make sure we take those off and just get them out of the way. And don't be intimidated. Other than that, it's all about taking your time. It helps to have a little bit longer fingernails in this case to kind of get underneath there. Or you can use a nice little flat head and be gentle and just kind of lift it up, as it did right here. There's 3 of them. 1, 2, 3 from left to right. That'll pull it off. And you just get underneath there a little bit and give a little tug. And that's it. There you go. Just a little bit. Try to ignore everything else around you. Just stay focused. Good lighting here in this situation really helps. You want to make sure you can see everything. You want to make sure you have time, no pressure, no dogs barking, no dinner cooking, and all that stuff running around. So take your time, and that's all it really takes. It'll pull out. It is very thin, and it can rip, so just be gentle with it, and then it'll come right off there. So you see that? 2 of them, not 3, but there is a third one. And then you can just move that around the side. Okay, so we're getting there, almost halfway there. The secret here is to really just be patient. And if you're watching or doing this for the first time, you know, you maybe want to look at it a little bit and just see if you want to tackle it. That's all. A lot of little screws in here. And you just got to take your time. I'm going to say that again and again and again, but it's true. A lot of people get frustrated and whatnot. So find all your screws. This one here on the left side is going to help us remove the board. There's certainly much shorter videos out there that show you not really real time what it's like, or almost real time, but what you're going to get into. And this one here, I want it to be real time, but I forgot about the beginning and something happened or whatever. So that screw will help me pull off the PCB board, or the computer board. I just went and want to pull on that. But again, everything I'm doing is because I've never done it before in this particular model. I'm just taking my time, wondering, will it come off, will it won't? I'm looking at it some, as you can see here. I'm not always paying attention to where it is on the camera. So I do apologize about that, but in this case, I just want to try to get a wide shot, but a close enough where you guys can see it. So I'm just trying to feel around here on where I can remove this board. I'm just getting in there a little bit deeper. And that's what you're going to have to do too. You're going to have to feel it, feel where the good pressure point is. Here, and I'll show you exactly what's up in a second. So I found something, and I'm kind of peeling something back here. Looking, I was like, oh, okay, let's get it back in frame. So there's some more sticky tape on the right side of it that I'm peeling up, and that's what you're going to want to be after, the sticky stuff. It'll hold everything down, and it's real good. I mean, it definitely, I don't know who makes it, but it works. I can't imagine messing that up if you had to. One thing to take note about is how they have scanners on all their parts and stuff, like little Q codes and stuff. I've seen them smaller than that, especially inside like pistols. It's pretty cool. So here I'm just working this tape up, and I don't want to rip it. I don't want to pull hard, and that's very important. It's just to be gentle, because here you could really destroy one of the essential cables, I believe, that connects between the board and some other parts. Anything that has stickiness on it, be gentle. That's all. It'll come out. Okay, so now I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and pull the board out and see where we can go from here. Kind of just looking, inspecting the area. I want the battery to be moved, because you see the power in the left bottom there. That's what I'm trying to get to. So now I can kind of pry the battery up just a little bit. It is not a solid piece of metal in this battery. It's more like aluminum packing. So if you had like aluminum folded over and over and over again. So be gentle with the battery. You might penetrate it. It might bend a little bit on the end, but overall it should still be fine. So I'm like, all right, taking a look. And if you've messed with any of these new lithium ions and stuff, flying little mini quadcopters or drones, you'll know that. So now here I'm really almost close to where I want to be. I want to get into the power button area, and I want to take off more sticky tape. So I'm just kind of prying a little bit back ever so gently with the flathead small jeweler screwdriver. A little bit bigger than a jeweler's, but just a small screwdriver. Again, these kits can be picked up for like $5 or $6 at a hardware store or a dollar store or something. This one here is a potential for dangerous and ripping a ribbon cable underneath there. So you want to be careful again here while you're working at it a little bit. And if you have some music and stuff you want to jam with in the background to help calm you down, sweet. If you get frustrated over these little things, I'd say don't do it. But fuck, if you don't care about it breaking, then go for it. So you can start to see this little cable underneath here, and that thing gets torn all the time for people trying to fix these up. So you do not want to do that. In other words, you might as well just go buy a new one on eBay. Not cable, just Nano Ipod, and say forget about it. You can do new cables too, but they're probably like $20 or something that people are charging. So here I'm looking, I'm just trying to really pull it out slow. I think I break it a little bit, but enough where I can still stick it back in. Once I get it away from the cable, I'm not as concerned with it, because it's the dangerous part's over. Tweezers. A lot of people are saying, hey, get some tweezers. Maybe that's probably a good idea. So if you have tweezers, that'll certainly help a little bit. But here I am. Just, you can see, this is what you're going to deal with. This is what people don't show. So if you have somebody fix it for you, you know, they're going to have to deal with it too, no matter how many times. They might have a better technique, but there we go. Starting to move it a little bit. Scrunch it up. Pull it back, pull it back. Ah, just a little bit. And there we go. Now, that is virtually destroyed. I don't know if I use it again or not at this point. I don't remember. Just kind of re-narrating the video here. It's been up for a while. So I'm looking and I'm thinking, okay, now I need to get to the power button. I need to make sure it works. And how does it push and tell it to turn on, turn off? So what I do is, once I get it apart, there's a tiny little shim inside of between the power button and the bottom part of it. And I had to get some plastic. And I used like this little plastic bead, and I just shaved off using a sharp knife or a razor blade. Tiny little bits of plastic you can use. And then I either did that or I went to a piece of rubber. One or the two. I forgot what I grabbed. But it's not thick at all, and if it's too thick, it won't go back together right. And I used a bit of glue, just a pinhead of super glue, to put it on there and hold it. So here's another screw we got to take out. This one here, I believe, holds the assembly for the power button area. That's kind of where we're working right now. That's going to allow me to take apart and get to the power button I need to get to. One thing that didn't kind of freaked me out when I put it back together was the screen didn't come on right away, and I was like, ah, boy. But it just did like a reboot a few times. I had to do a hard boot, like where you hold the power button and hold the play button on the top of the screen. I don't know, it's weird. So take some screws out here, more screws. I think we're up to like 8 or 9 now. And this will help us get to that assembly. So go ahead, take all those out. Keep them separated. If you can put them in little trays, mark them. You know, that's probably a good idea. So here, just kind of pull back a little bit on this cable. You can see there's a bracket. 2 brackets here that hold it together. Yeah, now I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do here to fix this? What am I going to do? And I kind of just work it out a little bit. Never forcing it, just make sure it falls out and kind of just give it a little nudge here and there. Okay, so here we are working on the power button now. We can see it. See this little sliver, silver platter that we need to get to. And kind of wondering, what am I going to do here? Do I need to pull this whole thing out, or can I work with it right where it is? So here's where I really want to put the shim, where the screwdriver head is. And it's just me. You can see little bits and pieces on the table. They're out of focus, but those were some like trial stuff. So grab some super glue. And to the right there, you see some shaved up plastic. That's what I was trying to use to see what was going to work the best. So looking for the right pieces of material that you can use for getting it all working again is, you know, you can use anything really, just a tiny piece of plastic, kind of put it there. So just a little dab of the glue is what I did. And I'm going to go ahead and try to attach it to the underside of the button. So when I press the button, it closes the contact and does its thing. You can kind of see a little bit here how big the piece is just by looking at the tip of the screwdriver. And here's the section I was shimming up here, just trying to get it on there. Do a little bit of dabbing it on. With the super glue, you can use, I don't know, any kind of really glue you need. Just a tiny little bit is all you need. And put it up. So putting it back together is just as easy as taking it apart. So that is, you got to be careful, delicate with it, and when you do put it back together, hopefully it works the first time for you. It didn't work the first time for me. I had to take it apart at least once to see if it was going to stay together to get the right size. So one of the shims was way too big, and then I had to shim it down again. So here I'm looking, that little piece of copper right there. Just, and that's where I want to put the piece of plastic. Just not too much glue. So I pre-glued it, let it dry a little bit, because once it gets dried, it's a little bit more sticky. Just a little bit, see? That's probably too much. So I'm really just trying to see if it's going to push, if it's going to shim in and be the right distance, and I'm going to be able to screw it down. What I learned was it wasn't the right part the first time, so I had to put a new one in, which I'll be doing again, or something that's a little bit smaller here, so I'll be doing that in a moment. And now I have a different piece on here that's just a tiny bit smaller, and I want to center it up and make sure it's going to work. Lo and behold, I found some tweezers. All right, so now we have a new piece of plastic to go on the cable here, and I did acquire some tweezers. All right, so get tweezers. And we're going to use that to set the part on the little button. You know, so I fought with it a little bit to get it back on, and when I did, I was so happy that I got it back on and together that I forgot to turn the camera on when I was putting the screen back on. But essentially, put the ribbon in, screw down the screws, and then here I was like, oh crap, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And then it ended up working. You know, just got it to the right, and I couldn't see it. Then I was like, woo, it worked. And I put it back together.